Right now, I'm challenging myself to see if I can make 128 Regulation H teams that are each different from one another over the course of 128 days. Why 128, you might ask? At the end of the 128 days, we're going to do something special where we battle every team against each other in a single elimination bracket to see which team emerges on top. There will be some competitively strong teams, there will be some gimmick teams, and there will be some probably a good number of goofs and gaffs in there, so if you want to follow through to the end, subscribe so that you can keep up with each day. But without further ado, let's move on to day 119. Alright everybody, welcome back to another video, and in today's video we are going to be going over the snow team to end all snow teams. Now we've had quite a few snow teams already in the 128 teams challenge, but this snow team in specific is going to be utilizing snow to the highest degree, despite the fact that we don't have any Slush Rush Mons or Snow Cloak Mons, which I guess that would be utilizing snow to the highest degree. But we're going to do it in a different way. That makes it so that this is the snow team that ends all snow team. And I am still confident at the end of this sentence that this should be the title of the video. So starting off here, we have Cloyster, a Pokemon we haven't gotten to use yet in the 128 teams challenge, who is an ice type, who is also a water type, so we get to protect ourselves from the weakness of fire. But also Cloyster is a very defense tanky Pokemon, so even if a Pokemon throws a fighting type move in a Cloyster, more often than not it's going to be a physical attack, so Cloyster will still take it really well. And Cloyster wants to get off its Shell Smash so that we can increase our attack and speed, and also special attack, but special attack's not very important, by 2, so that way we can just do a lot of damage into Pokemon with our Skill Link ability, making it so that our Icicle Spear and our Rock Blast are always going to guaranteed hit 5 times, and then Razor Shell is just another really strong stab water type option that also has a 50% chance to lower the target's defense, and we do have other physical attackers who really would like an opponent to have their defense cut down by a stage. And then to compensate with the fact that Cloyster is going to decrease its defense and special defense, we have the White Herb, but also we can negate and Intimidate 1 time, which is pretty handy on Cloyster. Next up, we have our actual Snow Setter, which is Alolan Ninetales, and Alola Tails is going to edge out the Abomasnow here, as we really want a Pokemon that is going to be fast and exert a lot of pressure with the Blizzard and the Moonblast, and then also be able to set our Aurora Veil to make us a little bit tankier for our Pokemon that like getting set up, like Cloyster and Frosmoth. But then we also have the manual Snowscape on the Alolan Ninetales that we can use in scenarios where the opponent might want to bring in a weather or manually change the weather with a Prankster Pokemon. Since Alolan Ninetales is pretty fast, we can afford to run the Snowscape on it so that we are always staying inside the snow, because this team really benefits from the snow. As a matter of fact, you could say that this is the snow team to end all snow teams. Definitely you can still say that. 100%. No doubt in my mind. But on Alolan Ninetales, we also have the Cover Cloak, mostly so that we're not getting faked out, but also so that we're not feeling any secondary effects. And we have the Terra Water, because it gives us such a good Terra defensively. Next up, we're including Baxcalibur, of course. Baxcalibur is the pseudo-legendary to be using in the snow, and also its dragon typing gives us a lot of great options for dealing damage into the opponent. And on our Baxcalibur, we are going to be running 4 attacks in the Icicle Crash, the Glaive Rush, and the Ice Shard for a little bit of priority, but also all of our stab moves. And then we have the Stomping Tantrum just in case we get faked out on Baxcalibur. Then we have a 150 damage Stomping Tantrum, but also if for whatever reason Baxcalibur is unable to use a move, whether we accidentally throw a Dragon type move into a Fairy type, or we use Ice Shard whenever there's priority negation on the field, we can also activate the double damage Stomping Tantrum that way. And Stomping Tantrum also aligns with our Terra type of Ground, which is pretty nice from being Dragon Ice, and our ability Thermal Exchange makes it so that not only can we not be burned, we will also get an attack boost whenever we are hit by a Fire type move, which the opponent would really like to throw Fire type moves into our team because of all the Ice types that we have. And since we're running 4 attacks, we can afford to be Assault Vest on the Baxcalibur, which we don't mind me, I just changed the EVs around a little bit to maybe make us a little bit tankier in combination with our Assault Vest, and the fact that whenever snow is up, we will have a defense boost. Next up, we've got Frosmoth, who is making its first appearance in the 128 teams challenge. I really wish I could have used Frosmoth on more teams, maybe like two more teams, because Frosmoth actually does get a lot of usability whenever it is able to terrestrialize out of its ice bug typing, because it has a really good ability to make up for its typing in the ice scales, which allows it to have the damage from special attacks. So whenever the snow is up, not only will we get a defense boost on Frosmoth, but we also naturally get a really nice ability to decrease special attacks. So Frosmoth can be pretty tanky in that scenario. It's just that its typing makes it a real Achilles heel right there. But if we terrestrialize into ground to get rid of some of our weaknesses, then we're in a much better spot, and we have some pretty good moves in the Blizzard for our spread damage, which will also guaranteed hit in the snow, and our Terra Ground Terra Blast for hitting the opponent is also nothing to scoff at. And since we're a bug, we have the Quiver Dance in order to increase our special attack, special defense, and speed to make us a lot harder to handle, but also so that we're getting a more of a special defense buff. And we have the Wide Guard that we can use to block spread attacks that would target Frosmoth and its partner. Fifth on the list, we have Galarian Slowking, and the main reason that I picked Galarian Slowking was because it resists fighting, which is nice to have when you have so many ice types, but also because of its signature move that it got this generation in the Chilly Reception, which allows it to set up the snow, and then it switches out. And unlike Teleport, this is not negative priority, so you can use it in the middle of the turn. It's just that Galarian Slowking is already really slow, and it's not really worth the investment into its speed to try and make it faster, so we can Chilly Reception in order to pivot out in order to deal with our threats. But we also have our 2 stabs in the Psychic Noise to stop the opponent from healing, and the Sludge Bomb just for some general good poison type damage. And since we have some setup mons or Pokemon that enjoy taking hits and being on the field for a while, we have the Heal Pulse on Galarian Slowking that we can use to side heal our own Pokemon. And Galarian Slowking itself is going to have the Regenerator, which means that it can take some damage, and then we can swap it out, and then it will get a third of its health back, which is a lot. And the leftovers also give us some health over time, but nothing too crazy for Galarian Slowking, but it is nice to have them whenever you just want to get that tiny little bit more health back. And the Terraflying makes it so that we can mostly dodge to the ground type moves, but also so that we still resist the fighting type moves that we can throw our super effective psychic type damage into. And lastly, I decided to put Scrafty on this team because I wanted another fighting type for hitting things like steel types, but also an intimidate Pokemon in order to lower the opponent's attack that also has Fake Out. And also the knockoff Drain Punch and Poison Jab are all just good stab options, especially when we use our Terra type of Poison to resist things like fairy attacks and throw Poison Jab back into the opponent. Pretty nice, and clear Amulet so that we are also not getting intimidated back on Scrafty. But yeah, that's the basic gist of the team. Let's get into some battles. Alright, so first up we have a team with an opposing Scrafty, who is a fighting type, so we can afford to hurt our ice types, but they also have the steel type Metagross, which is very, very dangerous for us. So we lead Scrafty and Baxcalibur here as they lead their own Scrafty and Bascute Legion, and we get the attack drop on both, which is nice, and we only get attack drop on Baxcalibur, but we bring in Ninetales here to set up this snow, and they threw the Fake Out into Ninetales, and they tried to flip turn on Scrafty, but it really doesn't do too much into Scrafty, and we get a nice Drain Punch into their Scrafty, getting a lot of our health back, and actually all of our health back. We Terra Water Ninetales here, maybe a little bit early, but since Metagross was on the field, I didn't want to be risking too much. I figured that I would try to throw a Heavy Slam into Ninetales, so this gives Ninetales more sticking around power, so that we can throw the Moonblast into Scrafty, and we can knock off into their Metagross, clearing the field. But now they have Mimikyu and Bascute Legion in the back, and since Bascute Legion has 2 dead friends, the Last Respects is going to do quite a bit through our Aurora Veil, and Cloyster can actually afford to take the play rough pretty nice there, because we have Snow, Aurora Veil, and Cloyster is pretty physically tanky. Last Respect's not doing very much to Cloyster, and because we are Skill Link, we can Icicle Spear through the Mimikyu's Substitute and still do a lot of damage to it on the turn. Play Rough is going to come out to Scrafty, but it only does about half because of the Intimidate, and Knockoff is going to be able to take down the Bascute Legion, but even if the Mimikyu had crit Scrafty, I think Cloyster seems to still have this endgame just because Cloyster is so darn tanky. Here we have a Fire, Water, Grass team, but it is mostly focused on Tailwind offense, as the Blursom, Luna, Blood Moon, Dragapult, and Kingambit all really enjoy being in that Tailwind mode. So we immediately lead Scrafty and Cloyster here as the opponent leads Talonflame and Primarina, and I really don't want Talonflame to be on the field, so we just fake out the Primarina so that it won't move, as Talonflame does get off the Tailwind, but we Rock Blast into Talonflame, and that is going to easily be able to take out the Talonflame there, and they're going to respond by bringing in the King Gambit, which we bring in the Ninetales here as they try to kowtow into that slot, maybe looking for a Terra, but Ninetales is thankfully able to take both Moonblast and kowtow, and this allows us to get off the Shell Smash on Cloyster, and King Gambit goes for Sucker Punch to try and pick off Ninetales, as Ninetales is probably still faster than both of these Pokemon, even inside of the Tailwind, and Cloyster, because it has the speed boost, seems to be faster than the Primarina, so it gets off a pretty damaging Rock Blast into Primarina, as Primarina fires back with the Moonblast, but Ninetales set up the Aurora Veil, so Cloyster was just barely able to take it. Sucker Punch comes out, but Cloyster is so physical tanky that even with Dark Terror, King Gambit doesn't do too much, and we get some Moonblast chip into the King Gambit, as now the opponent's Tailwind runs out, and Sucker Punch is going to take us, but we take out their King Gambit with the Moonblast, and Primarina finishes us off with the Hyper Voice, but now we can bring Scrafty and Frostmoth back to the field as they reveal that they have Dragapult in the back, which everything else was weak to ice, and Dragapult is the most offensive Pokemon, so it makes sense, but it's not going to do too much to Frostmoth because we have the Snow and Aurora Veil up, and Frostmoth is pretty free to get off a Quiver Dance there, and now goes for the Terra Ground. Dragon Darts is now going to do more, but our Citrus Berry saves us some damage there as we Terra Blast into Primarina in order to take it out, and Knockoff is just full on going to take out the Dragapult there. And lastly, we have a battle against a pretty offensive Sun team where they have both Venusaur and Charizard for dealing their damage in the Sun, but they also have the option to go for the Trick Room mode with the Ursaluna and Farigiraf. But the thing that we really want to worry about here is the fact that they can set up Sun very easily and then sweep us. So we see them lead Palma and Venusaur, not immediately bringing out their Sun as we bring in Frostmoth and Slowking, and they fake out into Frostmoth probably so that we can't Blizzard, and they do get the Sleep Land onto Slowking there, kind of making me wish that I was Safety Goggles, but now they decide to go Terra Electric and deal a lot of damage to Slowking as Frostmoth gets off a Quiver Dance, and Slowking is able to wake up and gets Psychic Noise Chip into Palmot, so a pretty decent turn for us there. Torkoal is going to come in and set up the Sun, but because the Pokemon that they are switching out was faster than the Pokemon that we're switching out, Ninetales is going to come out after Torkoal and is going to set up our Snow, and the Snow gives us a defense boost enough to survive the Palmot's hit and allows us to fire off a Blizzard. So we're doing pretty good on winning the Weather War here, but now Charizard comes in to put that into question. We Terra Ground in order to not be quad weak to the Heat Wave and fire back a Blizzard of our own as we get Slowking in again, and the Heat Wave does miss the Frostmoth, so I could have gone for a Wide Guard on the previous turn if I thought that they were going to go for double spread moves, and then I could have had Ninetales try and set up the Aurora Veil since there was no way for them to set up the Sun by swapping in Torkoal because Torkoal was already on the field. But the Blizzard did do a lot of damage to the Charizard, as we saw, and they decided to swap in Venusaur here as we just Ice Shard into Charizard, and we tried Terra Blasting into Torkoal in order to take it out, but Venusaur resists the hit, and now Sun is going to be set back up, and Torkoal protects here, but we can just Ice Shard into Venusaur in order to take that out and not have to worry about Venusaur's speed, and then we can bring in Ninetales in order to show that we have won the Weather War, and Terra Blast with our Frostmoth to take down Torkoal. Alright, and that was the Snow teams to end all Snow teams. And this Snow team is admittedly a little redundant because you really don't need to have both Cloyster and Frostmoth on the same team, and you could instead afford to have more variety, but they do serve different enough roles that you could run them on the same team. It's just that you probably shouldn't run them both on the same team. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked it, maybe consider leaving a like on the video, and even consider subscribing because both of those things will help me out an absolute ton, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you.